Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day, everyone. Welcome to the next session of our class. So for this week, this is your actually final week for your PDPR. However, we'll be sharing with you some new videos from time to time to keep the momentum going. As you remember that you are going to be Form 5 next year, so SPM is just going to be very near once you enter the school. So this week we are going to look into another writing activity, which is related with a little bit of literature and art. Okay, so this week we're going to look at creating our own narrative. Okay, creating our own narrative, mencipta cerita. We create cerita sendiri. Okay, so to begin with, so let's take a look. These are three questions that I want you to ponder. Okay, you can write your responses in the comments of this YouTube video, or you can just write in your book. Okay, so the first question: what is your favorite story? Okay, what is your favorite story? Next, what is the purpose of stories? Apa tujuan ada cerita? What is the purpose of having stories written down? And the next question, how do we pass stories along? Macam mana kita sebarkan cerita tu, atau we keep the stories going on? Okay, for example, you know the story about the hare and the tortoise, cerita arnab dan kura-kura, right? So what is the purpose of this kind of story? Okay, and then how do we pass this story from generation over to another generation? Kalau ikutkan cerita arnab dan kura-kura ni has been there for quite some time. So how do we pass the story along? Okay, so maybe you can write in the comments, or maybe you can just write in your book. Okay. So there are a few purpose of stories. Okay, for example, one that I've written here is to make us learn about something, untuk kita belajar tentang sesuatu. Okay, and another one is to instill moral values. Okay, untuk memastikan kita ni ada sedikit moral value lah. Okay, we learn about something, okay, from the story of the hare and tortoise, for example. So we learn about we need to have motivation when we are competing with our opponent, and also instill moral values. We shouldn't be brag about our skill or our competencies, because maybe somebody else who we see are not able to do it might be performing better than us. Okay, kita tampak macam orang ni slow dan sebagainya, but at the end the tortoise wins the race, right? Okay. Okay, next. How do we pass the stories along? Okay, cerita dia ada banyak jenis, right? So there are a few ways that the story can be passed along. The first one is word of mouth. Maknanya kita sampaikan melalui oral presentation. So we present orally. So our grandfathers told our father told us, and we later will deliver the same story to the next generation. So that's word of mouth. Okay, contohnya cerita sang kelembai, right? So maybe you have heard of the story before. So you heard the story from your grandfather, your datuk, and then your datuk tell your father, your ayah, and then your father tells you, and then you later will tell your friends, or maybe to your younger generation, your younger brother, younger sisters, and so on. So that's word of mouth. And then printed in books or on paper or on any material, so in printed form. Okay, dicetak, so you can read the story in the book or in a novel. Okay. And also another one, maybe we are not used to this, but we can also pass stories along using narrative paintings. Okay, lukisan yang bukan lukisan tu boleh bercerita, but in the painting you can tell a story, or maybe the painting is based on the story. Okay, so before that, since there are three ways that the stories can be passed along, uh, what I'm going to focus today is narrative painting. Okay, remember just now we have talked about word of mouth, printed in books, and the third one is narrative painting. So today we are going to focus on narrative paintings. Okay, what is narrative painting? So first and foremost, we need to know that there are two words over here, narrative and also painting, and we combine these two words into narrative painting. So what is narrative? Narrative is simply a story. Okay, sebuah cerita, it's just a narrative. Okay, and narrative painting is painting that tells a story. Okay, lukisan yang menceritakan tentang suatu kejadian. It tells a story. Maybe it doesn't tell the whole story, but maybe just an event, an incident in the story, uh, it is turned into a painting by the artist. Okay, and it can be about religion, about myth, about legend, about history, and also literature. Okay, so there are many types of narrative painting. Okay, so let's take a look at this painting. Okay, this is the painting by Jenna Catton. Okay, the hare and the tortoise. Okay, so you might know about this story, right? The hare and also the tortoise. Okay, it's not the rabbit and the tortoise. Okay, so the hare. Hare is also a type of rabbit. It looks like a rabbit, but it has longer ears, so that's a hare. Okay, and tortoise, that's not a turtle, that's a tortoise. Okay, you cannot simply throw the tortoise into the water. Okay, it cannot swim as good as a sea turtle. Okay, do not simply throw a tortoise into a water. Okay, into a pond or into the sea and so on. Okay, so let's take a look at this painting. Study this painting. Maybe just take a few seconds to take a look at this painting. If since you are watching this recording, you can just put or hit the pause button and then take some time to study this painting. Okay. So there are a few questions that maybe you need to ask yourself when you look at this kind of painting. For example, have you ever heard of this story before? Have you ever heard of this story before? And then, what can you say about this painting? Okay, next question. What happened to the hare and the tortoise? You can see in the painting that the hare is running quickly and the tortoise is following from the back. And then the last question is what happened at the end of the story. Okay, so these four questions is very important when we want to study a painting. Okay, especially narrative painting, because this is crucial when we are going to do the next activity after this. So, have you ever heard of this story before? Okay, Arnab dan Kura-Kura, the hare and the tortoise. So, what can you say about this painting? Okay, maybe you want to talk about the color of the painting. Okay, whether it's beautiful, whether it depicts the event in the story. Okay, does it resemble anything from the story that you have heard before, or it has nothing to do with the story that you have heard before? Okay, and then next, what happened to the hare and the tortoise? Apa berlaku kepada anak dan kura-kura ni? Okay, who wins the race? Okay, and then what happened at the end of the story? So we know what happened at the end of the story. For example, in the story, okay, the tortoise won the race. Uh, why did the hare couldn't win? That's a good question actually. Kenapa Arnab ni tak menang? Okay, because we know in the middle of the race, the hare took a nap under a tree. So this is what we heard. The story is about. Okay, the tortoise or the hare took a nap under a tree, under a shady tree, so that the tortoise were able to win the race because the tortoise keep on moving even though it walks slowly. Okay, So you know what happened at the end of the story. The tortoise won. Okay, akhirnya kura-kura yang menang, not the hare. Okay, good. So, when we look at this kind of painting, or when we want to describe a narrative painting, we have to realize one thing, which is the artist himself or herself had to imagine what the characters in the story look like. Okay, dia kena bayangkan macam mana bentuk atau rupa karakter dalam cerita tersebut. Okay. For example, if I ask you to draw a Humpty Dumpty, okay, because you remember the Humpty Dumpty set on the wall, right? But can you really draw Humpty Dumpty? Okay, maybe you cannot draw the real Humpty Dumpty because we do not know what is Humpty Dumpty. So we have to imagine, use our imagination to draw the character of Humpty Dumpty. So that's why most people drew Humpty Dumpty as an egg, okay, and it fall from the wall, okay. However, the original story of Humpty Dumpty, okay, based on what I've read, is actually the name of two cannons, okay, cannons meriam, nama dia Humpty Dumpty. So it's a very big cannon, and it falls from the wall, so that's why it cracks, it falls into pieces, okay, it broke into pieces, okay, hancur berkecai. So that's the origin of the story of Humpty Dumpty actually. But most of us think that Humpty Dumpty, because if you look at children's book, they will draw Humpty Dumpty as two eggs sitting on the wall. Okay, so let's take a look at this word. Let's take some time to look at this word. You can just hit the pause button. Okay. Look at this name. The name is Medusa. Medusa. Okay. So by looking at this name, what do you think Medusa looks like? Okay. Remember just now, as I mentioned, the artist had to imagine what the characters in the story look like. So, what I want you to do is to take some time to imagine what does this Medusa looks like. Okay, take some time, hit the pause button, go to your book, grab your pen, and write the word Medusa. So, in your imagination, what do you think Medusa looks like? One, you have completed maybe five sentences or five sentences about Medusa that you think how she looks like, and then you can hit the play button to continue. So this is Medusa. Okay, this is Medusa as depicted by the artist. Okay, you can find this drawing or painting in the link in the description. I will share the link in the description below so that you can go to the link and look at this painting, the painting of Medusa. So, just now you have written what do you think about Medusa. So this right now, what I want you to do is to write down as many questions as possible you would like to ask the artist. Okay, look at this painting. Okay, what can you see in this painting? And then write down a few questions that you want to ask the artist. For example, who is the person in the painting? Obviously, you know it is Medusa. What makes you, meaning the artist, draw this painting? What's the reason for drawing this? Okay, maybe other question, for example, what is the story behind Medusa? What is the story behind this painting? Or what is the origin of Medusa? So there are a lot of questions that you can write or you want to ask the artist. Okay, and use WH question, the who, where, what, why, when, and how to initiate your question. Okay, so take some time to write as many questions as possible in your book. You can hit the pause button for a while, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then you can continue the lesson. Okay, after you have written down the questions for the artist, what I want you to do now in your book is to draw this graphic organizer. Okay, draw this graphic organizer and then fill in the graphic organizer with questions that you have created. So remember, just now you have written down as many questions as possible that you would like to ask the artist, and then in this graphic organizer, write down the question and write down the answer in every box. For example, you have the box number 1 for question number 1, number 2, 3, and so on. Okay, and then you may exchange questions from your classmate. You can ask your friends what are questions that they have created, and maybe you can just take 1 or 2 questions from your friend, so that you will have a beautiful or a full graphic organizer on Medusa. Okay, so that's next task. Okay. Finally, okay, based on the graphic organizer, okay, just now you have created the graphic organizer, you have filled in the question and answers. So write a short story. Just write a short story, not less than not more than 120 words, for example. Okay, not more than 120 words. Just write based on what you have observed in the drawing. Okay, write a story about Medusa's origins. Apa asal usul dia? You rasa-rasa lah, based on this painting. What do you think, or how does Medusa originated? Okay, where does she come from? Okay, what is there on his hair, on her hair, and so on, and why she looked very frustrated, maybe, or shocked, or disappointed. So a lot of feelings that you can use this adjective words, adjective clauses. Okay, when you want to describe this painting in not less than 100 words. Okay, so this is your next task. So remember, just now your first task is to write what do you think about Medusa. Okay, and then you based on this drawing, you draw a graphic organizer and fill in with the questions that you have created. And then after you have created the question, you came up with the answer, and then write a simple short story, very short story about Medusa's origins and what happened in the drawing, okay, in the painting. Okay, and then since you are going to write this in your book, okay, take some time to draw a picture of the scene in your book. Maybe since you have written the story about Medusa's origin, asal usul Medusa, you draw a simple picture, a picture of the scene in your book. Okay, to help you explain your story better. Okay, so I guess that's all for this week's lesson. Okay, if you have any question, you can easily text me, or you can email me. You can go to my Facebook or to my Instagram, and you can just ask me questions. Okay, so I hope that's all for today. Thank you, class. Have a nice day. Have a wonderful holiday, and thank you.